As the shield and I walked through the camp, I got a better look at the surroundings. The plain we were camped on was butted against a ridge of high, jagged cliffs. I could just make out shrubbery on the cliffside in the faint light of the setting sun. We knew, thanks to Master Ferwin, that there are people on the other side of the cliffs, but we were at least half a day's march away from them. My thoughts came to a halt along with my body when we arrived at Akar's tent. "Lucan! Oh, what a pleasure it is to see you, nephew!" Akar beamed when I entered the tent, embracing me and standing on his tiptoes to kiss my cheeks. "I can't believe how tall you've grown." "I'm more than 30 years old, Uncle. If I weren't at least as tall as you, we'd have reason to worry." After he sat back down in his chair, I took the seat he offered me opposite his desk. "Indeed," Akar smiled in reply. He had stripped off his armor, wearing a wine-red tunic and pants as he sat at his desk. In the candlelight, he looked more tired and worn than ever. His caramel skin gathered in bags under his dark eyes, and his jowls shook when he spoke. "The hour is late," I began. "We could talk strategy in the morning if you prefer." Akar flung my suggestion away in the air with his hand. "Nonsense, nephew. I'm a spring chicken. Rhys be blessed." "Rhys be praised," I replied in the customary way. Akar poured me a glass of wine. The torch of Brandgard is forbidden from partaking, but it doesn't stop him from lavishing it on others. "We'll begin our march tomorrow, just after sunset. It's a full moon, so they'll be gathered together atop the mountain for their heathen festivities. It's the perfect time for a surprise arrival." I nodded in agreement. "Now, let us discuss what we shall do once we've properly introduced ourselves to the villagers, shall we?" Akar asked. "Certainly." "Your tutor, before his unfortunate death, told us of their easy way of welcoming guests to their shores." Unfortunate death was one way to put it. "But what if they don't welcome us?" I asked. "Why wouldn't they? We're here to brighten their dark lives, to teach them a better way to live." By whose standards? I can't help but think of Master Ferwin and his humility and kindness, but I decided against speaking my thoughts. "Yes, Uncle," I replied, then took another sip of wine. Akar sat for a moment, pondering. "How much do you know about the origins of Brandgard, Lucan?" "About as much as the next sailor, I'd say." "Oh, no, that won't do," Akar scolded me. "You are a Velga, my boy. You must know much more." "Well, I know the peoples of the world lived in chaos and fear and darkness before Rhys revealed his truth to the first torch, who wrote his words in Rhysvox, which gave us order and stability. That line has been drilled into me since I was old enough to repeat the words, just as it has been for every Brangardian child." He smiled. "Yes, but do you know how Rhys brought the light?" I shook my head. "Before the time of man, the earth and the sky and the sea were ruled by a host of gods and goddesses. Rhys was one of the gods of the earth, the god of fire and light. One summer day, Rhys saw a beautiful sea nymph dancing across the waves and fell instantly in love with her. Her name was Ilaria, and she was well known for her predilection for seducing earth gods and never allowing herself to succumb to them. Rhys cleverly succeeded in wooing her, but before she would give herself to him, she made him promise her one thing, to never stop her from going to the sea when she wanted to, without question." Here, Akar snapped his fingers at a shield, who came near and bent down to receive his orders before turning promptly and leaving the tent, then returning with a priest. When the priest entered the tent, he bowed low in greeting to the torch, ignoring my presence, then walked behind Akar to lift Rhysvox from its pillow. He ambled back around and kneeled, dropping his head in reverence as he held the book up to Akar. Akar took the book from the priest and dismissed him, then began searching for the correct passage, thumbing delicately through the yellowed pages of Rhysvox. I sat for a moment pondering on the theatrics of that little display, all of which could have been expediently avoided had Akar simply stood up and retrieved the book on his own. But damn me and my cold impiety, as Draven would say. Delirious with love for her, Rhys agreed to her demands, and the two of them set up their home far from the sea, where Rhys could work his fire magic. Akar began once he'd found the page he was looking for. The two lived in pleasure and companionship for many years, whiling away their eternal days in conjugal bliss. But one winter day, as the sun god raced to bed early, Ilaria made her request. She needed to visit the sea and promised to return by spring. Remembering his oath to her, Rhys refrained from asking any questions. He embraced her and sent her on her way. But as the days grew shorter and darker, Rhys became more and more agitated. Why must she go to the sea after all this time? What or who is calling her there? He wondered. He tried to busy himself with his work, but after a month he could no longer hold back his fury, and decided to look for her and settle his mind once and for all. "You are my lover, and I am yours," Rhys called out as he approached the sea. "Come to me and let us away, back to our home." But Ilaria did not appear atop the waves. Once more Rhys called out to his beloved, beckoning her to join him. When she still did not come, his anger and jealousy were aroused. "I shall decimate the sea to show her the error of her ways," Rhys declared. With that he set the sea ablaze. Within moments, all the creatures of the sea and even the sea gods began rising out of the foam, roasting alive. Here, Akar paused for effect, so I tried to appear invested. Ilaria came to him finally, but not from the sea. Rhys turned to find her standing behind him, hand in hand with Gon, the sky god of rain and wind. Upon seeing them together, Rhys exploded in a fit of fury, so powerful it annihilated all living things, including Ilaria and all the other gods. For millennia, Rhys walked the dark plane of the earth alone, ruminating in his heartbreak. With each passing year, the rage and grief within him became stronger, increasing his power until finally he was ready to create a new world, even more beautiful than the one he had shared with Ilaria. He set upon his new world one people to rule all others, a people who would ensure his glory and renown were never forgotten again, a people who would spread his light far and wide and teach all others to honor his greatness. And he named them Brangard, the Keepers of the Flame. Akar stopped reading from Rhys Fox and turned to beckon the priest back from where he stood, waiting in the far corner of the tent. He rushed over, bowed again, then took the book from Akar and placed it again on its velvet pillow before exiting the tent. "So you see, nephew, we are a people of fire, a jealous people, a passionate people. It is our responsibility to ensure all who walk the earth know about the glory and might of Rhys, the one true God, and it's a one we do not take lightly." I had finished my glass of wine. That and the march made me weary, and I longed for the relative comfort of my cot. I wished he would just let me leave. "Rhys prefers to woo people with the warmth of his words, but any flame can warm a home or cook a meal. It can also decimate a home or even an entire village should it get out of control. Rhys is not afraid to use force to get his point across, and we mustn't be either." "Yes, uncle," I said as I turned to leave. "Honey first, but vinegar always does the trick. That's my policy," Akar added as I took my leave. "Rhys be blessed." "Rhys be praised," I replied, bowing to him and heading out into the night. "So," Draven began when I entered our tent, "do we have our orders then?" Next to Draven sat Tegan, a fellow soldier I have known since we were boys. Both extended their arms to greet me when I sat down. "We do indeed," I replied. "Come sunset tomorrow, we're to begin marching to the nearest village." "Rhys be praised!" Draven cried out joyously. "Rhys be blessed," we echoed. Tegan handed me a cup of ale, which I pushed away. "I fear I've had my fill of drink tonight, and of stories, too." "Did the torch tell you stories, then? Good ones?" Draven asked. "An interesting one," I replied, yawning and stretching.